Very well. So now let's do some examples of the long-run equilibrium model to see if we can get used to kind of using this model and following the logic. Okay? Before we move into our next section. Again, let's write the diagram here, but if the diagram doesn't help, I'm going to also try to follow the logic without using the diagrams. And this is a perfectly competitive industry. Let's continue for the time being. Let's say that we're still in the same example, barbecue sandwiches. One diagram gives you the market situation. One diagram gives you the typical firm in that market. There's a lot of firms selling exactly the same thing, barbecue sandwiches. There's no difference between the different barbecue sandwiches. So in the vertical axis for both diagrams, we're going to have the price. There's a demand in that market for barbecue sandwiches. There's a supply for the market for barbecue sandwiches. And the firm will take that price as given, and it will try to do the best they can with that price. They cannot change the price. Now, let's assume now the firm will produce whatever that price meets the marginal cost, because the price is also the marginal revenue for the perfectly competitive firm. So this firm will produce right here. And whether this firm makes profits or not depends on what are the costs per unit. So let's assume that for the time being, this firm selling barbecue sandwiches is making 0 profits, right? So the price is equal to the average total cost in this particular case. So the profits are 0. There is no incentive for companies to enter. There is no incentive for companies to go out. So this company is operating at long-run equilibrium. Now, let's assume that the demand for barbecue sandwiches, for some reason, right, the demand for barbecue sandwiches increases. Let's say that perhaps the cost of producing barbecue sandwiches is low. I mean, perhaps one of the complements of barbecue sandwiches is lower. For whatever reason, let's assume the demand for barbecue sandwiches go up. What will happen in this market? Well, let's follow the model. So that is a change at the market level. The demand for barbecue sandwiches increases. That increases the price for barbecue sandwiches. So now every industry that actually sell barbecue sandwiches can sell at a higher price. They will sell at this price. And since the price is higher, they will be able to produce more, at least in the short term. Now, in the short term, they're also making profit because now they're charging a price that is larger than the cost per unit. So because of the increase in demand for barbecue sandwiches in that area, now all the barbecue sandwiches places are actually making some profits. Now, as companies can enter or companies can expand, right? And that might take, a year, 2 years, whatever time it takes for people to raise money to enter the industry, or whatever time it takes for companies that are operating to get new businesses. As companies have time, they will enter this market because now there are profits to be made. And they will continue to enter this market until those profits are eliminated, right? When those profits are eliminated, again, we're back at the same equilibrium that we were before price, because price, again, is driven down to the lowest point of the average total cost curve. And then we can analyze what happened, right? So what happens here is that we were at Q1 originally at the market level. The demand went up to Q2. A lot of companies started to enter in this market. They drove down the prices and the profits at the firm level down to 0. But at the market level, we end up, since there's more demand, with more firms and higher number of barbecue sandwiches. Right? So this is kind of a way of using the model for that. But again, you can explain this intuitively. The demand for barbecue sandwiches in the area increases, and now those firms, those stores that were operating, saw that as a positive. Now, since they were having a line at their door, they increased the price in order to gain those additional revenue and to get rid of the line. Now, as they did that, they were able to make a lot more profits than before. And entrepreneurs actually, on the long term, know that, and they will try to enter this industry. And as they enter the industry, the barbecue sandwich industry, they will take away those profits that, for a short term, those companies that were there were making. They will have to split those profits with those companies. When all this process settles down, what do you have compared to what you had before? Well, you have each company making exactly the same profit, which is 0, but we have a lot more barbecue sandwich stores, in essence. That's what we have. So this is a kind of a good way of, as you continue to do examples, you should be able to learn how to use this model a lot better. So my goal in the next few minutes is to give you a couple of questions in which you have to use the model to answer to see you get used to actually using the model. So let's do a couple more examples so you can use this model. Let's switch from barbecue sandwiches and talk for something that is not so appetizing. Let's talk about haircuts, right? So suppose that the market for haircuts in a community, could be your community, is perfectly competitive, and that the market is initially in long-run equilibrium, right? So that means long-run equilibrium means that companies are making zero profits. Now, at this point, a decrease in population decreases the demand for haircuts. My question is, in the short run, what would we expect will happen to the price and to the output of the typical firm in that market in the short run? Now, in order to answer that question, again, we can answer it intuitively without the diagrams, we can answer with the diagram. Let's try to answer it intuitively first. Every haircut industry or every hair salon is making zero profits. Demand for haircuts go up because of an increase in population. What's going to happen in the short term? Well, in the short term, those hair salons that were there are going to reap those profits because there's a line at the door for haircuts. So they will probably increase the price of their haircuts, and if they increase the price, they will actually make more profits. Now, when other companies or other entrepreneurs see that there's profits to be made in the haircut industry, they will actually try to take some of that action. As that happens, right, as time progresses and it gives time to other entrepreneurs to enter that industry and establish new hair salons, they're going to eliminate the profits of those hair salons that were there before because they're going to have to share some of those customers with the new ones. So as long as there's profits to be made in the industry, people will continue to open new hair salons. When that process stops, we have a lot more hair salons, we have a lot more haircuts, but the hair salons that are there are making no profits anymore, and the prices are again driven down to whatever it was when we started. Let's look at how that looks in the diagram. This is the market here, and we have a supply and a demand for haircuts. Now that firm will take that price, the typical firm will take that price from the market, and they will try to do the best thing they can with that. They will maximize profits. They will produce a quantity of output where the marginal cost equals the price. So they will produce this much output. And we said that the initial point is a situation in which there's no profits, so that means that whatever the price is, the average total cost is the same. Price equals average total cost, so there's no profits to be made in this industry right now. Right? Now at that point, what happens? Now we have a change. A demand curve shift to the right. That drives the price up. Now the companies who are in the industry are going to be able to increase the price to get rid of the line, and that means that they will be able to make some profits by increasing the quantity of haircuts that they sell at a higher price. Right? This difference between price and average total cost, now the price is higher than the average total cost, but there's profits to be made here. As that continues through time, other industries are going to try to reap those profits. So the supply curve would shift to the right as companies try to get some of those profits from the companies that were there originally. That process will continue until the price is again driven down to the lowest point of the average total cost curve. And at that point, we're back to the original equilibrium point. But in the short term, the average firm will make more units, will make more haircuts, charging a higher price. But what's going to happen in the long term? Well, in the long term, the price is driven down to the original point, and we have more hair salons and more haircuts generally. So this is use the model to answer something that we can answer intuitively, but kind of the model allows you to see this in a more organized way. And keep trying, and there's more examples in the quizzes, there's more examples in the discussion. The more you use the model, the more you actually understand how to use it, and you'll see that eventually you'll see that it's not that difficult. It looks a lot more difficult than what it really is. We have one more thing to answer here, and that is this question. There have actually two more things. One is, why would anyone stay in the industry if they're making zero profits? And second, we have been assuming that when the companies enter, the average total cost stays the same, and that's a strong assumption. We're going to relax that assumption in the next section.
Produced by OCE Atlas Digital Media at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign.